From downtown, this is Tim Kitzer from NBA Jam, and you're listening to NintenDomain Podcast. Boom shakalaka!
This week on NintenDomain, you can finally play Ridge Racer 64 on the go again. Plus, we have Nathaniel Lockhart here to talk all about Magfest, Retronauts, and 70s arcade games.
Can someone donate me like $10K so I can buy a ticket to one of these Nintendo events?
And that Switch 2 might cost $400. How about a GameCube for $100,000?
Welcome to NintenDomain Podcast. Welcome to NintenDomain Podcast, episode 457. Your place to hear Nintendo fans talk about Nintendo games and rumors and whatever else is happening. And we are your hosts. I'm Treybo Overkill Johnson.
I'm Jeremy. Oh God, not this again. Mikowski.
I'm John. I'll pay whatever. Knitter.
And this week we have extra special guest.
Me, Nathaniel Lockhart, and my brain is made out of discrete logic.
I believe that. Welcome back to the show, Nathaniel Lockhart. It's been a long time. I was trying to think. I think what was the last time we had you as an official guest was like when we talked about the Bible games or something like that, like years ago.
It may have been since then.
Well, I know we talked to you at I know we talked to you at like the Midwest Gaming Classic, but it's been a while since we've been there.
Yeah, you've missed a couple of years, right?
Yeah. Last time you saw me, I was actually working on a TV show there.
That's right.
But I was unable to actually go to it because our schedules were, I couldn't get off in the daytime. So I showed up at the VIP party and just drank a whole lot and talked to people, and that was fun. Yeah. But we were shooting like in Wisconsin for like 4 or 5 days, and I was like right down the street from there. So I think I went by like on a couple nights to see if I saw anybody like in the.
Didn't you get like COVID like right after that or right before that?
No. Well, when was that? No. I actually didn't get COVID until what was it? January of 2022, I think. The very beginning of 2022 was when I finally got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I remember like saying like you were in a hotel or something at the time. Is that right? Am I remembering that right?
I was staying in a hotel there. In Milwaukee, but it was on I was on a TV show that was shooting during. I was hoping that I'd have a chance to go to the event, but I couldn't. So because I wasn't getting off until like 8:00, and it was I'd miss like pretty much everything. So
they'll wrap up by then.
But hopefully this year maybe we've talked about it, but I know you dropped a line on our what was that episode 400 when we had a bunch of people say stuff like we recorded you for that.
Yeah.
So, but I forget where. I think I was heading home from another show I was working on, and I turned on Retronauts, and then all of a sudden I heard your voice on there, and I was like, "Hey, what the fuck? I know that guy." So and I heard you talk about old 70s arcade games and whatnot, and it seems like you've been pretty busy, touring around doing different things. Or I know you're at Magfest, and I don't know. I thought it'd be great to have you on here and talk to you because, like I said, it's been a long time since we've heard from you.
It's always a thrill to get to talk about this stuff and have any outlet to say anything about it. It's been sort of it's been like my gospel evangelist. It's been like to talk about old 70s arcade games, primarily because so many of them aren't really preserved or playable in any meaningful way. I mean, I won't do the whole presentation for you. It should be uploaded, actually. Magfest tends to upload all their presentations that they do.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I didn't know it was. I didn't know there's a video available.
Yeah, there is a video. I mean, it hasn't been uploaded yet. It was streamed on Twitch, so if you comb through the archives, you could find it. But it'll be uploaded proper as its own thing in a little bit. But basically, the whole gist of the presentation was I titled it "The Quickly Fading Memory of 70s Arcade Video Games." And it was about how the arcade video games of the 70s, particularly the early 70s to the mid 70s, were done primarily out of discrete logic. That is to say, there's no code, right? There's no code that's being processed, that's being executed. It's all done through discrete hardware, like wire-to-wire hardware. And because of that, they kind of those games missed out on the early rounds of emulation that happened.
Yeah, how would you even emulate something like that?
Well, you kind of don't, at least not in the traditional sense,
Yeah.
Because there isn't code. There's no code to execute. So there's ways around it. MAME has this thing where it takes net lists from what's called net lists from a thing called, KiCad can do this, which is basically the very, very high level concept of it is you put the schematics for the game into a computer program, and then that computer program spits out what all the connections are between all the wires on the board. And then MAME has little programs that act as the chips on the board.
Okay.
But it clearly was not a priority because not a lot of the chips that are used on those boards are on there, but also they're very rudimentary representations. Like they don't account for a lot of the specific behaviors of. Anyway, that's getting really technical and in the weeds. But,
yeah.
But and I could do that if that were this kind of show, but it's not. So I'll spare you. But basically, that was my whole talking about how, like, hey, we're missing out on a certain amount of these games. The one big thing I referenced was the Video Game History Foundation did a study that was very popular a year ago, basically saying that 87% of video games made before 2010 are unplayable legally, to download to play legally.
Mm-hmm.
And that changes with different periods of time. So you get to like the early 90s almost has a 20% representation. You can play almost 20% of the games released in that time period, which is for the span of things, that's pretty good. But then when you get back to the 70s, from 75 to 79, 78, something like that, you can only play 0.89% of those games legally, which is basically Space Invaders and Breakout. Mm-hmm. And then for 1971 to 1974, that number is statistically 0. The only outlier is Pong.
And it's because it was like
ubiquitous,
reproduced in like in a home setting.
Yeah. It was reproduced ad nauseum, and it has enough of a cultural cachet that, for instance, Atari can re-release it on the Atari 50 collection. But what you aren't going to get is Atari Shark Jaws or Ramtex Baseball or Flim Flam, like all these just completely forgotten games.
It's a pretty good name for a game.
Oh, my favorite one. My favorite one is Watergate Caper, which is a code breaking game from Nutting Associates. They didn't make very many. I think they made we know they made some because they sent one to Atari, but that's it. That's all we know. Anyways, yeah. And so it's just talking about, what documentation do we need? How do we emulate, quote unquote, emulate this? How FPGAs are kind of the sweet sauce for the sort of stuff. So yeah, there's a lot of that kind of stuff. And it's a lot.
Is the FPGA ultimately how you get whatever you can from that era, like playable?
It's the closest road. It's the shortest road.
Because I only sort of understand FPGA, but as far as I know, that's like it's not just emulating the software; it's actually like functioning as the hardware would.
Right.
Okay.
So FPGAs have like thousands upon thousands upon thousands of logic blocks that you can kind of rearrange to be whatever chip or function you want it to be. And because of that, you can get a 1-for-1 replication of a lot of these things. And that's very helpful for these discrete logic games because you're getting a lot closer to the hardware level, and there's less layers of abstraction to kind of muddle with that. Whereas with MAME, like they're doing their best, but it's going to take a lot. The bridge that you need to build is a lot longer in that in that instance. Or you could be a crazy person like me and put schematics into a computer program and then just make your own boards. Which is something else I did. That's a whole other thing I've been working on as well. I don't know if you want me to talk about that or not.
Is that where CAD comes in?
CAD comes in, KiCad. Yeah. I got a book when I was very young. I was about 9 years old. I found it at the LaGrange Public Library in LaGrange, Georgia. And the book was How to Build and Design Your Own Custom TV Games. And it was published in 1978. And because it was published in 1978, and the author is assuming that you can't afford a computer yet, these are all discrete logic video games that you build, and all the schematics are right there in the book, and there's circuit descriptions, and he tells you how to do it. And ever since I was a kid, I really wanted to know what these games were like, and it wasn't until very recently that I looked on the onset of the pandemic. I looked through the book again because I bought it for myself later on, and I found I get this now. I understand what these schematics are. I get it, and so I sort of brute forced my way into learning digital electronics, and I built a couple of the games. Notably, there's 3 that I built so far. One is a pinball simulator. That was a bear to get going. One is a tag game. So it's these 2 little white squares, and they got to chase each other, and you decide which one's it. And when they touch, they both disappear, and it beeps. And then the other one is an interesting game. It's called Stormtrooper Attack. And it's a very simple game where you have just a row of enemies up at the very top. You're at the bottom. You can go side to side and shoot up at them as they slowly advance and shoot back at you, which probably sounds familiar. However, the interesting thing about this is that this book was published in April of 1978. Space Invaders did not reach North America until November 1978. Which I don't take that to mean that Nishikado got this book, translated it, built the thing. I don't think it's probably coincidence, most likely, but still pretty interesting.
Or it's something that just makes sense. It's one of those things that's just like
parallel thought.
Yeah,
absolutely. In fact, actually, here, let me see if I can put down my whiskey. Let me see what I got here. I'll show you. This is one of the controllers. I actually brought this to Magfest, but this is for the tag game.
Wow,
that I made.
Cool. So yeah,
cool.
for any of the non-patrons who can't see it on the video here, it's got like dials on it, right, on the side, like the kind of like how you would play the old Pong game, sort of, right, with the
exactly
turny things.
Exactly, and in fact, these dials are old radio dials that I found on eBay for cheap. They thought they would kind of be a fun accent, and then inside, which again your patrons can see, that's the guts of it. That's the whole game.
It's just like a couple of circuit boards and just wires going to the dials.
Right. And it's not the full thing. Like, it still has to be hooked up to the video generator, which I have here. So this goes into the video generator, which is a different board. But all this is 6 circuit boards here, and then a couple more over to the other side for audio timing.
And the video generator obviously isn't just like a TV, right? It's like more. I mean, it's not like AV plugs you have there, right? That you can just plug it in.
Yeah, well,
it's like doing stuff with the horizontal and vertical stuff.
That's right. That's exactly right. Like, so basically, what it does is it has these counters that count like in binary, and it counts. And the counters are fed a fraction of the NTSC television signal, and it basically counts, cascading all the way down and all the way to the side, and or all the way to the side first and then all the way down, because that's a slower frequency. But And basically, yeah, so it uses these little logic chips that you put together like Legos. I mean, if that's what it feels like, you're fitting these things together in the circuit, and that's what it does. It paints a whole raster, and then because it's binary, you could take like the different divisions out of it and play with them, and like say like, oh, what does 1/4 of a raster look like? And it's 4 bars going across the screen, and you can do something with that. And yeah, it's very neat. And I put up the schematics and the board designs that I made. The most recent revisions are on my GitHub page. So if anybody is feeling adventurous, they're up there, and you can have some boards made and learn yourself some soldering. And if this is something that you want to try, please let me know. I'm all too eager to talk about it, as you can clearly hear.
Yeah, no, I need to learn soldering. That's been one of my goals for a while, and I've just never.
You never were in shop class or anything in school.
No, we didn't have that.
Oh, because I mean, I was really into soldering when I was like, I don't know, 15, but I haven't done it. Like I was in shop class, and I was in like a shop. I was in like a shop club, and we built like rockets and stuff like that.
I know it's like tiny welding kind of.
It was cool. I really liked it a lot, and I mean, a lot of people use it to fix like audio cables and stuff like that. And it's something I should get back into again, but I just don't have any of the stuff. For, you know where to go with that. But I definitely want to learn stuff from you, because after I listened to the Retronauts episode, I sent you pictures of the 70s arcade game that I just that my dad won. I think my dad won it from a bar or something like that way back when, but we always had it. Yeah. We always had it at the house, and my mom like got it made into a table or something. Like they stuck like this extra thing on the bottom so it's higher now, because it used to be like on the ground with wheels, and it rolled around, and it had all these different games on there. I remember we played it a lot. When we were kids, it had like soccer and hockey and tennis, but it was basically all variations of Pong, and it was
right
that sort of thing. And it doesn't really work anymore. Like I tried to turn it on, and it kind of just flashes, but there's no image on the screen anymore. Yeah. So at some point, I'd love to try to figure out how to fix it.
Capacitors, I don't know.
Yeah.
No, it's probably just a chip or two is fried, and you just replace it. And yeah, I mean, that's one of the hard things about fixing those machines, is that since it's not like a computer wired up, it's a singular, unique circuit, every single one. So you kind of you really have to know your way with an oscilloscope and hunting down and tracing signals. And I mean, it's fun if you're a masochist like me, but it's not for every,
If you could, if you have the patience to get into it. I'm sure that some of the stuff, I would think that some of the things you might need to fix it might be kind of hard to find too, right? Like it's depending. I don't know.
It depends. A lot of those old chips, those old ICs, because they were made with off-the-shelf logic ICs.
Yeah.
None of them, hardly anything was ever proprietary. In fact, they still make most of them.
Back when Radio Shack mattered.
Oh yeah.
I loved Radio Shack. That was like the only place you could go at the time when I was in high school. It was like the only place you could go and buy like a new record player needle. Like I remember buying that from Radio Shack because like in the 90s there was nowhere else you could get that at, and I went there because we had a bad needle, and I went there and got a new one. But yeah, and we used to. I got one of those little radios that you made yourself, like with the the one ear thing. I remember putting one of those
with
together.
The quartz crystal.
When I was in grade school, like I put that together. And
that's fun.
Or the like 50-in-1 electronics kits. My grandpa got me one of those.
Yeah, they had fun stuff there.
I missed out on this cool stuff.
I liked Radio Shack, and I used to buy like really long audio cables and stuff like that, so I could. I remember I bought some stuff from Radio Shack for the dorms at Lincoln even, where I made it to where I could like split the feed of like my 64, so it went to like 2 TVs, so I could play it like up on my bed on the loft, and I had like different speakers going all over the place. And I got I just got random wires and shit from Radio Shack, because you could find that there.
Oh my god, yeah, Radio Shack was the best, man. There was one where I live now. There was one that was about like 4 blocks away from me. It was perfect. And of course they all closed down. So now I have to basically have my own electronics store on hand at all times, because I can't just run out and buy a capacitor or a resistor or something.
I always thought it was weird that Radio Shack shut down just as like the maker movement was coming up. It's like, what?
Yeah.
Before
something just didn't
pre-pandemic
happen.
or whatever.
I mean, they were, as a store, they would like change so much towards the end. Like they were basically like a cell phone store at the end.
Yes. Yeah, they really were. I mean, I still managed to find stuff. Like if you went in the back,
you buy like drones and cell phones.
Yeah, like I bought a roll of solder from there. Like in the
sure.
last year of their operation, but it wasn't.
I remember them selling like PC games and stuff like that, like in the when I was in high school. So they had like some video game stuff.
I always
at
went there
some of
for
the
audio
Shacks.
adapters.
Yeah,
Weird audio adapter I needed.
Yeah, audio stuff was great. I remember actually, I think I did get something for an actual movie I was working on where I got like something that was just like a headphone jack to a regular XLR adapter or something like that I got.
Oh,
from
nice.
A Radio Shack. This was like, I don't know, this had to have been like, like 2000, I don't know.
Ages.
2006 or something like that. Like it was, it was 2006 or 2007, something like that. It was a long time ago. But I do remember going there and buying some audio stuff for a thing I was actually on. And I went to Radio Shack because I knew they had weird shit like that. So I could find adapters or whatnot.
Jeez, I remember finding in like 2005 an Atari Switch box that I bought brand new from Radio Shack.
with the
slide.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the like, game. What are those? The weird alligator clip cables, or not alligator clips?
Pitchfork.
Pitchfork, yeah.
Pitchfork ones.
The ones that, I never really. I guess I probably messed with.
We
those
had a bunch of
at
old
some
TVs
point.
when I was a kid, so we used those.
Yeah, I remember. I remember using it a little bit when I was really, really young.
I think we even had one for the NES that did that.
Yeah, I think our first might have been the first TV we hooked up the NES with and had something similar to that.
Yeah, we used to have to use a screwdriver to hook the RF switch in. Kids.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
They don't know nothing about that, and it was snowing while we did it.
You see, like, stupid... I've seen, like, incorrect posts online where it's like, when we did this, we had to do this, and then I was like, wait, hold on now.
Yeah.
It's like, no, you didn't have the 3 plugs and had to set it to 3. That's different. It's a different thing.
Yeah, it's very different.
It's like you don't know what you're talking about, kids.
The real thing no one understands is that your car stereo would freak out right before your cell phone rang. And it just doesn't.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And you would be like at a concert and somebody's phone would set that shit off.
Or like radios. Yeah. I mean, when you listen to the radio, the radio would always go off. Or like CD players or whatever. I remember that being a thing.
I remember seeing a band. It was actually Owen, the guy who does American football also, but he like purposefully like was asking people to send him a bunch of text messages so it would like fuck up his sound.
So it would feedback.
That's funny.
Just to see if it would work.
Yeah.
So I mean, you've been working on a bunch of different stuff, right? I mean, Jeremy and I, we got Game Gears from you, that you rebuilt and all that. So you kind of gotten into a lot of hobbyist stuff, right? Like a lot of.
I fix video games and computers way more than I play them these days.
Yeah.
And that is not a trade-off I regret. Like, I love tinkering with this stuff. I
mean, you're becoming a historian along the process, it seems.
It feels like that. I recently joined, it's been a couple years now, but I joined a Discord called Gaming Alexandria on the what's the word I'm looking for? On the suggestion of Kevin Bunch, he said it. He said, "Hey, you should look at this Discord," and those guys are on it. Like they do, like the hard hitting work. They're like, okay, here's the trade journals that you can look in for this sort of stuff. Here's the newspaper articles that we need to look for. Here's blah 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 blah, and they just really kind of up the game, and they're very supportive. And it sort of pushed my perception of what I was capable of doing. And there's things like these things, that I thought about doing and dreamed of doing, but it was sort of like a self-defeating thing. Like, oh, well, I can listen to these people on podcasts or whatever, but that I can't do that. Like that just won't be me. I haven't gone to school specifically for that. Ergo, I can't do it. But being in that Discord completely disabused me of that idea. And they were just like, yeah, just do it. You want to do the research on it? Do the research. Like, one of the first things I did was shortly before joining that Discord, is I tracked, but through the help of people from it, is I tracked down the inventor of the Pong on a chip.
Cool.
Which, was in a ton of consoles, right, in the 70s. Like Coleco.
Yeah, I own one.
Yeah, Coleco Telstar. Radio Shack made like 3 of them. Sears made them. Anyways, yeah, it was ubiquitous in the late 70s. But I was always curious about it. And it was only through the help of Kevin Bunch and Ethan Johnson and someone else who I'm forgetting. Maybe Quarter Past is what he goes by on Blue Sky. His name is Dale. But they said, well, the guy it looks like Gilbert Duncan Harrower is his name. And so I was like, all right, well, let's find him, I guess. And the only thing I found was like, oh, here's a listing from the last time he lived in London. It says it was from a listing from like 2001.
Oh my gosh.
And it's like, his daughter is such and such Harrower. So I was like, all right, I can't find anything about Gilbert Duncan. But I do see one of blank Harrower. Maybe, and she's on Facebook. What if I ask her? So I just put it on Facebook. I was just like, hi. Did your dad work for General Instrument in the 70s? And her response was, yeah, why?
At least she responded, though.
Yeah. And
at least wasn't like more hostile.
This wasn't like,
who
are you and what do you want from me?
No, she was just like, you want to talk to my dad about his work? Well, he would love that.
Aww.
And so, yeah, I was like, all right, cool.
Wow.
So, and then I just
cool.
had an email correspondence, and I got to publish that. It's a pretty short interview, but it was still cool to, sort of, when you do something like that, it really blows up your mind about what's possible for you. And so from there, it was just off to the races.
Nice.
I almost didn't do a Magfest panel because I still can't quite get it out of my head that, like, so I'll think like, oh, if I can do it, it can't be that special. Like, anybody could do this, right? If I could do that, then
it's very humble of you.
Anybody could do this. I guess it's either that or it's incredibly self-deprecating.
I'm more humble.
To a harmful point. Yeah, right, sure. But
it's like the imposter syndrome thing, right? Like,
yeah. Oh, yeah. But then Katie was the one, my wife, who was the one who was just like, "Oh, just sign up for it. For God's sakes, just do it."
Yeah.
And then
it's just a flip of the switch. It's the other side of the coin of if I could do it, then it must be interesting. Or if I could do it, I must be good at it. It's just the opposite side of the same coin.
Yeah. Right. So it's been an adventure. And
well, from what I heard of I did listen to the episode, the restaurants episode you did.
Oh yeah, did you? Cool.
You were definitely billed on that episode as like
you were the expert.
One of the people, one of like maybe 3 people that understood what the hell was
which was really cool. Yeah,
that is really cool. I'm like, I know that guy.
It's like I had a long drive ahead of me for something, and I was kind of tired, and it helped keep me focused for the drive. So
really, well, that's good.
I forget where I was. I was driving home from somewhere. I do a lot of road gigs, so it was
sure.
I was.
Well, I'm glad I didn't put you to sleep.
No, I just didn't really know. I didn't really know that you were on it or what exactly it was. Sometimes I'll just throw on a random Retronauts thing and be like,
yeah. No, it was fun. It was an honor to get to do it. I mean, it's something I've been listening to ever since I graduated college.
Yeah. I mean, we met you through the Retronauts. Like first time I met you was
that's right.
Was at a Retronauts meetup at MGC. The first time I ever went there, because like I remember I didn't stay there. I just went there for the day, and just hung out afterwards. For like with Bob and Jeremy, and then I drove back. And I think, and I remember meeting you there, and not actually. Well, Jeremy Parrish, Jeremy wasn't there yet, but I kind of just went on a whim by myself, like for the day, Yeah. And I remember seeing you at the meetup there, But then I don't think I actually talked to you until like the year later. But yeah, we all kind of met on the
And that's when I was there.
on the Retronauts thing, and it's kind of the passion and all that. And did you say on the episode that you were working on a book too, or possibly writing a book on this?
Well, said you're thinking about it.
I am thinking about it, and doing the presentation was definitely like a dry run for me of a sort to say like, well, could I make a book about this? Like specifically about this technology and the games that relied on it? I think maybe I could. Luckily, there's still some people alive from that time period.
Yeah.
Try to get some more interviews.
I mean, it was a long time ago, but relatively speaking, it was recent in history.
Yeah, I mean, as far as histories go, yeah.
Seems like now would be the time, and also that's a niche that isn't really talked about or covered a whole lot. Like people think of the origin of video games, they think, oh, Atari. Well, what about the generation like a few years
about
before
Odyssey?
A few years before that,
stuff before Atari.
What about mainframe MIT games or whatever?
Sure. I mean, like one of the points I made in my presentation was because I talked about why these games weren't being preserved, why there wasn't any attention being paid to them. Mm-hmm. And one of the slides that I had just said, there is no name recognition whatsoever, except for like maybe 3 outliers, 4, let's say. There's Midway, Atari, Sega, and Taito. Like, those. But for those 4, there's dozens of other companies that like nobody's heard of, like Mirko Games or Fun Games or Electra or Allied Leisure Industries, like all these names like nobody's heard of.
Sounds like a spa club.
They were dead by 77, 78, or in the case of Allied Leisure, they became Centuri later on. They did Phoenix. It was like
very Roman of them.
Yes, right. But yeah, so that's a big hurdle. It's just there's just no recognition whatsoever of any of these names or games or anything like that. And
I think there's so many people who are interested in early game history that would be fascinating. Like there's people like
I
us.
Hope so.
I consider myself someone who knows a lot about video games, but even like that era, that so intrigues me because it's not really written down. It's not really defined in the eye of the general public.
And there's nowhere to play it.
Cool. Yeah.
There's nowhere to play it. Like the only way you could play any of these games, excepting Breakout and Pong, is if you have access to the machines. Or you're using an incredibly outdated emulator. It was called DICE. And they managed to get a few games working for it. But getting it to run nowadays is a giant pain in the ass.
So is this like a really early hardware emulator or something?
Yeah, it was an early earnest attempt it was like discrete discrete integrated circuit emulator.
So what is like discrete in this sense? Like obviously we think of discrete as being like you don't notice it or it's like
meaning,
what is discrete in the sense of electronics?
So like discrete meaning like it's it relies on like hard wired logic circuits.
Okay.
Like, like for instance on an AND gate.
Right.
If you have 2 inputs and if both inputs are high, then your output is high. And then if that's not the case, if one of them is 0 or they're both or low or they're both low, then the output is low. So it's it's this binary logic that can be built upon and cascaded to do.
My dumb brain just thinks of a lot of light switches with wires. Like it just gets more and more like Byzantine as it goes.
Kind of. I mean, it can be certainly like the wiring can get a little crazy, but it sure looks nice and neat when you have it all designed on a printed circuit board. That certainly makes it look a lot neater, certainly than prototyping it would be. The prototyping that stuff is nuts. I mean, actually, do I have? Oh, I do. I have a. There's a computer that I've been working on. It's a hobby computer. It's a TTL hobby computer. So TTL is a branch of discrete logic, and it's all done through discrete logic. There's no like central CPU. It's all done in hardware. But I wanted to make a little. It outputs like 1-bit VGA, but I was like, but what if it did composite video instead? Wouldn't that be retro and cool? Because composite video is so freaking weird, you can like blend it together to fake it into making colors, But anyway, so like a discrete logic. So here's something I'm working on right here, right? And it's just like it looks nice and neat until you turn it over and then you see this rat's nest of wires for what everything has to go to. And it gets a little out of hand. But
so is that a breadboard you bought yourself, or did you have it printed and then
No, this is a prototyping board.
Okay.
I bought myself.
So it's like a little breadboard that you pop the chips into and then you wire them from behind.
Yeah, you wire them from behind, point to point wiring and all that.
I'm learning as I watch.
Yeah, it's fun. I really enjoy it. I think it's a lot of fun. But yeah, I mean, if you like someone who likes puzzles, if you just sort of like building things like that, or like if you like Legos for some reason, I feel like you would like messing with this stuff, because instead of like just building a building, you're building logic together.
Isn't there a bit of archaeology in there if you're like putting something together from back in the day and you're kind of like sort of maybe not archaeology, but there's like a history, like you're unearthing kind of like how people were thinking about doing something, or maybe how it compared to something else at the time, or
there's some of that. I mean, a lot of these things have schematics, which are great, because they're roadmaps basically to doing everything. But of course, there's always mistakes in the schematics that you have to figure out where it is, why isn't it doing the thing it's supposed to do, and you got to kind of backwards engineer it to figure out what it is supposed to do and why it isn't doing it. And sometimes you get real lucky, and there's circuit descriptors to go along with the schematics, because circuit descriptors are just like paragraphs. It'll say like, when such and such does this, then this circuit will do this. And then you can see, oh, well, it's supposed to be doing this. It's not doing this. So obviously it's something in here, it at least gives you like a thing to look at. The thing that kills me is I have a board. I think it's from Digital Games, was another one of those companies that you've never heard of. And because this was all done with like off the shelf logic chips, like anybody could just go to Radio Shack and buy like 12 of them for $2. Like say you wanted like NAND gates, you could buy like 12 of them for $2. But because of that, like you could just get the circuit board and then backwards engineer it just from looking at it and mapping it all out. So you could just make a copy. I mean, that's what people did with Pong. Like Atari's Pong was not the best selling TV tennis game in the arcade market. It was like third place to Allied Leisure's Paddle Battle and Meadows Games Flim Flam.
Was this more about cost or like availability, or?
Well, it's availability, cost, and the fact that, the circuit board's just right there, and it's all off-the-shelf parts, so we know what everything does. So all you have to do is give it to an engineer to backwards engineer, like over a weekend, and then you figured it out, and you can make your own, and you don't have to pay anybody because you did a clean room reverse engineering.
Well, I guess there's no like patents on it at the time.
No, I mean Ralph Baer had patents on certain generations, and there were lawsuits over that. But people like took to like weird routes to do like anti-piracy, which really wasn't technically piracy. So like they would do things like something Atari would do is a lot of these circuits were called like they were called the 7400 series logic chips. So it would be like 7400 is NAND gate, 7404 is 6 inverters, and so on and so forth. Well, what Atari would do is they would put in these special chips that they had proprietarily made, and they would give it the title 7409 or something like that, and trick people into trying to reverse engineer it and then put in what they thought was supposed to be this chip, but it actually wasn't, and it fries their whole board.
And then they think, what did I do wrong? But
right,
they were
right.
trolled.
Or what Digital Games did, and I hate them for it, is they just scratched off all the labels on the chips. So like
so nobody could figure it out.
So nobody.
Somebody at the factory was the scratcher.
That's right. That's exactly it. Someone just sat there all day long scratching out chip labels, and it sucks for historians.
Back when we had more jobs for people, you could just be the scratcher.
Back when all you needed was a razor blade and a dream,
and you could just you could just scratch it off. That's what you do. That's your job.
That's right. And that's a pain in the butt. I mean, there's a ways around it. Like I have my EEPROM burner that I use. I could put logic chips on there, and it can identify what the chip is based on how it works. Whatever.
How does an EEPROM burner? Is that like you're just uploading data, or are you literally doing like a heat based?
Yeah, you write data to a ROM. If you have like a ROM chip, you can read data from it or write data to it. But one of its secondary features is that it can also test and identify generic logic chips.
Oh, okay. And then tell you what they are, like as far as like, and then you could pick them up off the.
Yeah. So what I could do is I do have this board. I got it through the help of Gaming Alexandria. They were able to pool some money together and get a hold of these boards, so we could preserve them, get some direct footage running off of them for researchers, yada yada yada. So what I could do is I could desolder each and every single one of those chips. Mind you, there's like 80 something chips on this board. Take one out, put in the identifier, see what it is, put it back on the board, do it again 80 something times. Yeah, it's one way of doing it, but yeah, it gets a little crazy.
Sounds like it.
It's fascinating to me because, I mean, it all had to start somewhere, and it's interesting that where it started is so murky because of how like computers changed, like what they were and how they function.
They became out of date so fast. These games did, especially when Space Invaders hit. When that game came along, it was such an enormous hit that everybody began chasing, like, what is the next hit game? We got to have the next hit game. And these other games...
Now money was being put into it that wasn't before.
Big money. And also, the games that were made before weren't made to be hit games, They were made to be as much of a mainstay to a pool hall as a foosball table. Like, that was the idea. So then all of a sudden you have these people chasing, like, what's the next big game? So these older games become obsolete overnight. And they're big. They're big. They're arcade machines, right? They're bulky. And nobody's paying money to play them. Meanwhile, Asteroids is over here eating its lunch. And so you got to get rid of this thing. Floor space is at a premium. Let's go. I'm going to get more of these new games in. And I actually did research on this. I was looking through trade magazines for arcade operators. The notable ones are Replay and Play Meter. And in the back, they would have classifieds for like, oh, here's some used games. You could, if you need to fill out that one corner of your arcade, I got a couple for you, for a song or whatever. And I stopped seeing those older games for sale by 1981. Nobody, like, you could not give them away.
Do you think they were they were like recycled in a way, or was that possible with the...
They were dumped. They were trashed.
You don't think like the CRTs could be reused or anything like that?
They might have been, but they were all black and white.
Oh, okay.
For the most part. Well, there were some that were color, but they were not the majority. The majority were black and white.
Mostly they were just, like you said, occupying valuable floor space, and they needed to be.
Right.
I mean, John got a Ms. Pac-Man for free, and this was in the 2000s.
I did, yeah. For just walking in an alley one day, and there was a guy wheeling it out of a bar.
Yeah, they were throwing it out because it was broken, but it was
barely
fixed
broken
it in ways. I mean, I had like...
It was barely broken. when I finally got it in my apartment sometime later, opened up the back, and my friend Chris, who was into computers and stuff, all he had to do was pop a chip back in. It was just leaning out. That was it.
Yeah.
Pop the chip back in.
Yeah.
And it fired up and all that stuff.
Cool. Oh, that's awesome. Do you still have it?
I still have it. Yeah, it's in my parents' basement right now. It lives there because it's.
Yeah.
I'm never moving. I've moved it 4 times. I'm done moving it. So
Yeah. That's
Especially
so cool.
that first time you had to move it. I'm sure you're like, not too many more times.
Yep.
What do you mean you don't have a dedicated hand cart ready to go to move that thing?
Up and down the stairs. No, it's in the basement. It's never.
John,
come up
of
the
all
stairs
people
again.
to have a hand cart that I know, you would have one. You'd be like, in case I need it for something, I have it.
Yeah. When you buy an arcade machine, Jeremy.
I want to, and I have a garage right now, but we're renting. So whenever I do eventually do that, it's going to be once we own our own home. And
You gotta put it
also,
somewhere.
I have considered a MAME emulator cabinet or something.
That'd be fun.
But
Yeah.
I would want to try to at least build it myself.
That'd be fun.
But
Yeah,
as far as classic arcades go, I'd maybe want to get a red tent, but I don't have too many other things that I care that much about.
those are expensive.
I know they are.
Red tents. Yeah.
I know they are.
Hey,
That's why
great
I've
to
got
have
one
both.
idea. I've got one idea.
That's right. You only need the one. You get the one. There you go.
Didn't you end up buying some arcades or something during the pandemic? I think didn't you tell me
Oh,
that
I
you
did.
got some that you bought some sort of what did you buy? I don't remember. Was it a
I got
pinball
a-
or
I did.
arcades?
I got a 1976 Williams Aztec. It's one of the last electromechanical pinball games, and it's one of my favorites. And I found it. It wasn't really local. I had to drive to southern Pennsylvania to get it, but from Buffalo.
Do you have a truck?
Nope, but I did have a minivan.
Mm-mm.
So
Okay, there you go.
And that was enough.
That's a family man's version of a truck.
That's right. That's right. That's right. I don't have a truck, but outside
I can haul some shit.
I got a Buick and a hand-me-down Chrysler 200. So, yeah.
You can fit some shit in there.
Yeah. Buicks are boats, man.
Yeah, they are.
But lots happened to me since the pandemic started, I guess. It's been a wild adventure, just kind of letting myself do all these crazy things I've always wanted to do.
It seems like you might have found your niche.
I feel like I have.
Which is special. I don't think lots of people get to experience that.
Yeah, it is, and it's been a lot of fun to explore that and to find that other people are interested in it. And it'll never make me rich, but there's enough people who agree that it is pretty cool, and that's kind of all I need to keep going at it.
I mean, I think getting a panel at any sort of video game thing is pretty cool.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah,
we never got one of those.
Yeah,
I just wanted one. But,
Well, besides that,
someday
video game thing.
I guess we did do a couple live shows at random places.
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
I guess
you gotta have your own convention. That's what it is.
And we did and that one time we
had
did
our own merch.
when we did the live show at Beat Kitchen. That was really cool because I always liked that venue.
That was one of my favorite things because I always wanted to play a show at the Beat Kitchen when I was in a band.
I always thought that was a cool venue.
Is that in the city?
It's
proper?
it's in Chicago.
Okay.
It's like on Lincoln Avenue.
Okay, yeah.
It's
So I got to hang out in the green room at the Beat Kitchen as a performer. I'm
it's
like,
a
this is
cool
so
place.
cool.
We had like
it's such a cool venue. There's literally a band called Beat Kitchen.
They had like they had like a cooler with PBRs in it or whatever in the green room.
Nice,
fancy.
Not old style.
I think they were PBRs. I'd take PBR. I'd take PBR over old style any day.
I would as well.
Every time I go out to Chicago, Katie always rolls her eyes at me over this, but I always bring back a 30-pack of old style on the way home.
Why?
Hey, if you like it, it's that bottle of Beast.
That shit is garbage, man. Just leave it here. Old style is garbage.
I love old style. I can't explain it.
I would never pay money for that garbage.
Because I like Yingling a lot, which I don't. I think we might be
Yingling's
starting to get that out here, but that was my East Coast.
I mean, Yingling's a little controversial too, though.
Is it?
I mean, they were involved with were involved with Trumpy and all that, and the army kids love it. The American Killbot factories are really into it. Yingling.
Yeah, I haven't actually bought Yingling since then.
I didn't know all that, but I haven't.
I heard about that like 6 years ago, or went over in 2016.
I mean, I've had Tasty Cakes less recently, but that's another regional delicacy that I enjoy.
Yeah, I've heard of Tasty Cakes. Yeah, Katie always informs me of all the Chicago stuff, and then I latch on to the ones where she's like, "Ew, gross! Why that?"
Right. I mean, then you're like, well, I have to expose her to them.
Yeah.
But it's at least it's not like my brother-in-law. My brother-in-law is also from the Western New York region, like I am. And he genuinely loves Malort.
I like Malort. Yeah.
I don't see it. I just don't see it.
Well, I don't drink it as much.
Like drinking black licorice? I mean, that's for you.
I think it's okay, and I don't think it's black licorice.
I don't think it tastes like black licorice at all.
I think it tastes like when you stick your finger in your ear and then you lick it, which I've done. I'm admitting it on the podcast. It tastes exactly like that.
It tastes like grapefruit. That's what I always tell everybody.
It tastes like fucking earwax. With booze in it.
I had an amazing grapefruit Malort cocktail at the Alamo Draft House, which was fantastic.
Yeah, it was the grapefruit that did it, not the Malort.
Malort tastes like grapefruit, though. It goes well with it. I drink a lot of that shit.
Similar to grapefruit, but so does earwax.
I'm going to buy a bottle on the way next time I go visit my wife's parents.
You should.
Next time you're in Chicago, hit me up and you come look at my arcade. Arcade machine that doesn't
Trey's
work.
Got a whole house now.
Yeah, we have we bought a house like last year or no, year before.
And a really nice little studio area.
2023.
Yeah, it's great down there.
This is my
that's awesome.
This is my office area down.
I don't know if you knew I got married, but we haven't bought a house yet.
Oh, well, congratulations.
Thanks.
Yes. I think I might have seen that on Facebook actually.
I'm in a different location since we talked to you last. I mean, we were in that other apartment for like 15 years, so moving here was hell.
You're still
but
Chicago-ish area, though.
Yeah, no, we're still in Chicago. We're just on the way south side now.
Okay. Oh, well, you're probably even closer to my wife's folks then.
We're like we're in like Beverly, Morgan Park area, if you know where that is.
Okay. I'll have to ask. My wife used to live in Sauk Village. I've
seen that.
Yeah,
I've heard of that.
Right near the Sauk Trail. Yeah, it's really close.
Yeah.
Yeah, that exit's really close going up 57. The Sauk exit's pretty close.
Well, yeah, we're right off of 57 now, so that's pretty cool.
I could even tell you the exact exit number, but maybe I won't on the podcast.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't dox yourself.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. We actually drove past you over the weekend because Jess and I we drove to New Hampshire and back. Like within 3 days. It was a stupid idea, but we did it.
It's a lovely drive once you pass like Rochester.
I guess. Well, we drove through Buffalo, and it's like always snowing in Buffalo. Is what I said because I kept checking the weather, and I was like, it's going to be clear the whole way, and then the second half of the drive was like all snow, and it was really awful. And like on the way back, like fucking fog. Like I haven't driven in fog in a long time. This fog was insane. Like you couldn't see like a foot in front of you. It was nuts.
That happens, man.
Yeah.
I'll be in New York the end of this month, but NYC proper and
so
I say don't drive there.
I'll probably be stuck there.
Actually, I realized that New York was a lot closer than I thought. Like, I actually thought that it was farther away. Like, I could actually drive to Buffalo in like 7 hours or so, which actually isn't that bad. That's what I learned. That's what I learned from our crazy trip. Because it took me like 16 hours. Well, it took us like 16 hours to get to New Hampshire. And New York was almost like the halfway point, like it's like less than 10. Like I'm just saying it's not that far.
Yeah, it's long. That's the thing that everybody forgets is like it's a very long state.
Oh yeah, most of our driving was through.
That's why they have a Long Island.
That's right.
Yeah, most of our driving was through New York and Ohio. Those were like the longest stretches.
Yeah,
it's like going through Nebraska if you're heading west. Oh my god,
the fucking Ohio Turnpike. Yeah, that.
Oh god, it's such a dull.
And everything's and since you're so high north, like nothing really gets that exciting until you get to like New Hampshire or Massachusetts or whatever. It seems like
at least Cleveland.
Everything's pretty flat.
Cleveland rocks.
Yeah, it does rock. I am a Cleveland apologist.
I thought all of Ohio was pretty boring, but I liked it when I worked there. The people.
A good friend of mine lives in Cleveland, and he loves it. He's a tattoo artist there, and he's doing well.
Cleveland's got some fun secrets. Cleveland's a pretty cool town.
I worked on a couple shows there in Cleveland.
nice.
It was fine. I mean, I like that it's not that far away.
Yeah.
It took me like a 5 or 6 hour drive, which is not bad.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, to get to my wife's parents' house, they live in Dyer, Indiana, which is like right on the border of Indiana and Illinois.
Oh yeah, we're very close to Indiana now. That was part that was part of our strategy.
Region rat.
Because my wife's grandma lives in like northwestern Indiana, and and they go there like every other week to take her grocery shopping and all that. So it cut like 40 minutes out of our drive from where we lived before.
Yeah, she's fully independent, and she's quite advanced in age.
Yeah, she's like 96, but still
living. Good for her.
Still living alone, but Jess still goes and takes her out to take her grocery shopping and all that stuff.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. Is there anything else you wanna tell us? We're almost like an hour on here, but I mean that's kind of what I wanted to do anyway.
That's how you know you have a good guest.
Do you want to hear? Have you guys been to Magfest? Can we talk about?
No,
Magfest?
I haven't.
Sure, yeah, no,
I would love to.
I've heard a lot about it. Didn't you? No, you didn't go, Jeremy, right? Or did you just tell me about it?
No, I haven't been to Magfest, but that's where like
yeah, I want to know all about it.
We had Square Painter on the show, and that's like
he was doing stuff there too, right?
And that's where like James Rolfe is. And
where's Magfest at?
It's in Washington D.C.
Oh, okay.
It's right on National Harbor.
So it's way on the East Coast.
Yeah, very East Coast, and I'd never been there before. I was only going because my panel got accepted, which I wasn't expecting, and then that happened. I was like, "Well,
did they fly you there, or did you?"
No, I just drove. I mean, it wasn't.
So, is it a volunteer thing? Is that how it works?
Yeah, and I got a free pass.
Okay, I didn't know if they like funded your travel, which would have been pretty cool on their part.
No, because I mean, a lot of people who do panels there are people who would have gone anyways.
Oh, okay.
So
a lot of it's probably about exposure, right? Yeah. So they're like, here's a free ticket. You know, come.
Yeah, and I knew some other people who were going to be there, so I just thought. But I knew some other people who were going to be there. So, and then my mother-in-law offered to help fund the trip, which was very nice of her because she wanted to support me.
Wow, your mother-in-law cares.
That's nice
about that sort of aspect of your life. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Actually, I think my mother-in-law probably would too.
Yeah.
I got to give her credit.
But so Katie and I went and, just said, hey, we'll leave the kids with my parents because my parents live in Rochester, New York, which is where I grew up. And we could go on the way because it was kind of sort of on the way to DC, just a lateral move and then south.
Yeah, you can make it. We drove Buffalo to Rochester. The first time I went to Buffalo, I got flown out there for a TV show, and it like snowed like crazy, like on the day I was supposed to leave, and they ended up driving us all to Rochester because I guess it was clearer there. So that's my experience of Buffalo and Rochester. Buffalo
and Rochester kind of trade places over which one's snowier.
Yeah,
like some years it's Rochester.
Yeah, Rochester was clear, so the producer drove me drove me and like whatever the director the producer that hired me. We were both going back to Chicago, so they drove us over to Rochester, and it was clear there and whatever.
Yeah,
we got out of there.
Yeah, that's where I'm from originally. Is Rochester. Mm-hmm. Go Red Wings! They're the baseball team. But anyway, so yeah, we went down to DC, and like Magfest is nuts, like because it starts Thursday, and it ends on Sunday, and in between it's 24/7. Wow. It just goes and goes and goes.
Like it doesn't stop at like 10 p.m. like Midwest Gaming Classic or whatever.
That is great.
Panels at 4 a.m.
Nope, you can show up drunk at 3 a.m. and play DDR to your heart's content.
Wow,
that sounds amazing.
So they have like a little an arcade thing like MGC does, like, but it just never stops.
Yeah, and it never stops for like 3.5 days.
It's dangerous.
All right, now I need to go to this.
And they have panels going all through the night too. Like
I want to go to the 4 a.m. panels. What are they talking about?
The craziest shit. One of them is like Sonic fan games, but like the dirty ones.
Okay.
One panel was
gotta have the after dark stuff.
One panel was a funeral for Bubsy.
Mm-hmm.
One panel was why doesn't the yellow M&M, which is clearly the largest of the M&Ms, just eat the other M&Ms. So like in the middle of the night, of course I'm an old dad. Like I had no business being out anywhere near that late, but
Yeah. But you had to know about the yellow M&M, so you went to that one.
Oh, I
no,
would be
I
all over
didn't.
those
No, I
panels.
did
You were
not.
really interested. You went
Katie
to the
and
2
I-
a.m. yellow M&M talk.
I mean, I think it's nuts.
Yeah, Katie and I were. I mean, and it isn't just like go all night long. Like it still goes like all night long, like full force all night long.
Wow.
And then you'll wake up on Saturday morning and there's like a community orchestra playing like Persona music, and then like the first thing that happened, we walked in, there was like a jazz band playing Mario Odyssey stuff, and it's just it's nuts, and I felt like a old dad surrounded by a bunch of cool kids, just being like, "Cool boy, I'm not cool enough to be here." Like, but at the same token, like it is such an accepting place too. Like, I mean, so lots of trans flags and like LGBTQ acceptance flags and stuff like that, and it's just like, and I felt totally welcome as an old dad, and I think that's great. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Sounds like you'd go back again, huh?
I think I would. I don't think my wife would. I think
Okay.
for her it was a little bit of sensory overload.
Oh yeah.
Because it's a lot.
Yeah.
Everybody's in cosplay. There's music everywhere. Bright video game screens everywhere you look. It's intense. Not gonna lie. I mean, we never stayed there past 8:00 because we would just get bushed and just be like, "Oh, I think we're gonna go and watch Food Network and eat ice cream. And we'll do that, and then we'll pass out," which we did. And I got to see cool stuff.
Yeah, right. You were rewiring the hotel's TiVo to fog machine.
I wanted to. I wanted to mess with that, but
Did you get any cool stuff like for retro whatever? I mean, did they sell games and stuff there too, right?
Yeah, they had a merch hall, like a vendor hall. I got Arkanoid for the Famicom.
Okay.
Because I found schematics for building the Arkanoid controller.
Oh yeah.
So I was like, oh, I could just build my own Arkanoid controller, and then I'd have it. It'd be great. It'd be a fun project. And then we bought a few things for the kids, including my son. He's a big Pokemon head, and one of the things like he's really into right now are Pokemon mods. And
Wow.
I found there was a seller who was selling repro cartridges, like Game Boy Advance repro cartridges of modded Pokemon games. And so like I called up Teddy, my son Teddy, and I was like, so they have this one. He's like, okay, Dad. So I think you should get this one and this one. I'm like, all right, that's what I'm getting. So
That's so cool.
Yeah,
that your kid cares about
yeah.
mods already. Oh my gosh,
he's
that kid's
nuts. He's
gonna
nuts.
be making indie games at age 12.
He loves doing Minecraft mods too. Like he downloads Minecraft and it's like, how can I break the game? How can I make it crash my computer? So yeah, he's a funny one. Got that. Trying to think. A friend of mine is my nephew. I think we have friendly conversations. He's my nephew. He's really into Kirby, and I found the Japanese version of the first Kirby game on Game Boy. So
cool.
Give that to him as
nice.
Something neat to have. But yeah, a lot of artist alley stuff. Like you can buy like socks and stickers and art prints, stuff like that.
Yeah, like I said, we had Square Painter on the show a couple years ago now, but he's in the band with James Rolfe.
Oh yeah, Rex Viper.
Yeah,
it was a while ago. It might have been. I thought it might have been like
it's been a
pandemic time or something like that. I thought it was.
I've got a couple of his paintings back there.
I thought it was like 2020.
I know his
or 2020.
Yeah, those two paintings back there are his. But I know he that's like his big show. I think that's where he kind of like preps stuff up all year for that one.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he was talking about it a lot, like when we had him on.
It's freaking crazy. If you want to party all night long and play video games all night long and listen to chiptune music, and that it's your thing. And I would go again. I would go again. But
Yeah,
I
it's
would
on my wife
definitely.
in 2026.
It was
We're going to
Yep.
Tokyo this fall.
it was
Oh, good for you.
So I think that's probably about the biggest trip we can take this fall.
it was
Nice.
May 2021 when we had a Square Painter on. So I was
Nice.
right. I was guessing it was like 2020 or 2021. So
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
like that.
But yeah,
Cool. Well,
that's a lot of stuff.
yeah. Well, why don't we take a break and then we'll come back and talk
Sure.
about games and stuff and news and whatnot.
Hey, you.
It's me, Mario.
Yeah, you. Subscribe to our Patreon to hear our bonus shows, which happen every month.
I'm tired.
Tired of all the big corporate podcasts spoon-feeding you the same old video game news on every single show?
Spaghetti. Ravioli.
Then expand!
With NintenDomain Expansion Pack.
It's us talking about old games that were important to us. It's us interviewing people that we meet at conventions. And heck, it's live shows from those same conventions. It's basically everything you could want that NintenDomain ever made.
Here we go! And it's just $1 a month.
That's less than a bad indie on the eShop.
It's $12 a year, which is less than Nintendo Switch Online.
Thank you so much for subscribing to our Patreon and supporting NintenDomain.
Just go to patreon.com/NintenDomain podcast and hey, Mario, let go. Whoa! He's throwing us back to the show.
So long, Bowser.
Patreon.com/NintenDomain podcast.
Game over.
We're back from the break. We haven't really done what we normally do on the show and talk about games we got and games we've been playing. But before we do that, we haven't even mentioned Memory Machine, which I wanted to.
Yeah.
If you would just ask if you had gotten into any of that, if you got into any of that stuff on your show, like what you're talking about, like with the rebuilding the 70s arcades, or whatnot.
Very early on, I did an episode about it. But like when I was just getting into it, I did, and I had like a panel of like me and 4 other folks talking about it because they were interested too. People from Gaming Alexandria, so I had them on. But yeah, my podcast, The Memory Machine, is about all pop culture, basically. From I've done as early as like the mid 1800s to like Homestar Runner and everything in between.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun to get to do it, and it kind of gives me an outlet for all sorts of stuff. And unfortunately, I haven't been able to do it as much as I'd like to. It's kind of hard to schedule that kind of stuff when you have young kids, because I have 2 kids, aged 10 and 5, and at finding scheduling time and recording and editing a podcast is difficult when you have that a lot of your time eaten up with taking care of kids and stuff. But I still find time occasionally, and I put some out. And the last one I put out was with Lindsay Carano, who is a curator at the Strong Museum, which is has a lot of video game stuff. And then I'm going to record one soon with a local fella who I've connected with and have been buying a lot of his old electronics crap. But he worked on a UNIVAC computer in the 60s.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. One of the first computers in Buffalo, and he worked on it doing payroll. And he also built his own computer in his garage in the 1960s.
Oh my God, I gotta hear about this.
Unheard of.
To be like some Life of Pi stuff.
No, it's unheard of. I've never heard of anybody doing that. So I'm gonna interview him very, very soon, and that will be very fun. But yeah, that's my podcast.
Nice.
Anyways, get on with the rest of your show.
Do you play video games anymore? You said you mostly fix them than anything
I do
else.
sometimes. A lot of times just to sort of decompress, after work.
I'm gonna you probably play with your kids and stuff. Does your daughter play much video games?
Sometimes she
I
plays
know
a little bit.
your
here and
son
there.
was always really into him when you talked to us, but
He's super into it.
I mean, obviously he's playing mods now, so he's
he,
gone down that
he
path
knows,
already.
He knows his way around. And then Vivian, she loves Smash Brothers, and she really likes anything with fashion and stuff. So there's Barbie games. I swear we did not parent these kids to fit gender roles so well. They just did. I didn't try to do that. I let them know you guys could do anything you want. You got whatever you want. And they know that, for instance, Viv knows it's okay for boys to like nail polish. It's okay. Teddy knows it's okay for girls to like video games. But they're very
Jesus.
Yeah, but they're but they're very she loves her fashion, and she loves, and so she'll do games like that where she has to design a dress or whatever.
Cool.
Or but yeah, and she loves Smash Brothers because shit blowing up is funny. And
sure,
she loves turning up the bombs all the way and just watching it fly. Let's go.
Watch the world burn, baby.
That's right. She doesn't even care if she wins. She's just I want to make the most explosions happen. Let's do it.
Then she won't get mad about possibly losing. It's just take everybody down with you. Yeah,
exactly.
It's all about the festivities.
She could care less about winning. That's right.
It's just the spectacle of Smash Brothers.
Yeah. But for me, I've just been playing Stardew Valley a lot.
Yeah, are you playing the update then? All the new shit?
Yeah.
We haven't got into it yet.
That's what got me back on it. Yeah. That's what got me back on it.
Do you play solo or do you play with your wife?
I play solo. My wife finds Stardew Valley too stressful. She prefers Animal Crossing.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Animal Crossing is a little bit more even keel.
Sure. It doesn't have quite the the ticking clock going all the time.
Right. Whereas with me,
it does. It's just it's not it's not like multiple days in one play session, right? It's just a real time clock,
Right.
Yeah, my wife and I we played a lot of Stardew Valley. We played it co-op, online and all that, and we haven't touched it since the update. Actually, we haven't touched it for a while, but I've been wanting to try it out.
For me, it's dangerous. It's if I know I go back to try it out, I'm just going to end up playing an entire.
Just going to fall into it again.
Yeah, I'm going to end up divorcing my wife and turning her into doves or whatever.
That's me.
That's my next goal.
Starting a whole new.
I've never divorced in that game. That's my next goal next to my wife.
Neither have I. I can't bring myself to do it.
See what it's
I can't bring myself to do it.
Turn your kids into doves.
I could never do that. I'm your warning about what can happen when you get back. It's just sucks your life, man. I'm on year 5. There's nothing new in the game anymore, and I still just out of habit just sit and play a couple days and
I
run
love
through
that
the
game
Skull
so
Cap.
much.
So good.
It's
so
like
good.
it's got to be in my top 5 of all time,
I
easily.
think I'd agree. It's in my top 5.
And it takes over my life whenever I play it, so that's why I got to be careful.
Same. Absolute same. Same. But what have you guys been playing?
Well, as I said at the top of the show and in my nickname,
Yeah.
I've been playing Ridge Racer on 64, which just came out on the Nintendo Switch Online.
Yeah.
You said it wrong.
Yeah.
What?
Say it
Ridge
correct,
Racer.
Thank you.
I don't even think they say it like that on there. I really wanted to play it on 64 because I played it the most. That's not it. That's a different one. Actually, I don't know. It's over there. I played the DS version the most of Ridge Racer. I don't know if
And that was the 64 version ported to the DS?
Yeah, that was my joke earlier that I was saying Ridge Racer is finally handheld again because Ridge Racer DS was like a re-release of Ridge Racer 64, and it was like a launch title for the DS. And I played the crap out of that game. I actually put the game in my 3DS just to see like how far I was, and I beat like almost every race except for like 2. There's like maybe 2 races that I didn't get through, but I beat like 90% of it. So I really played a lot of the DS one. So a lot of it's like pretty familiar to me because it's pretty much the same thing. The only real difference is the DS one you could steer with the touchscreen if you wanted to do that, which I wouldn't advise that. But I mean, I thought it was pretty cool.
I
guess
that's how I drive my actual car.
I thought it was pretty cool because when I turned it on, it was set to the steering touchscreen. So I guess I did play like that. But I mean, whatever, you don't have to. But no, it's just cool to have. I like these random Nintendo Switch Online games being added, and just for the fun of it, I counted like how many racing games we have on the 64 app now. There's 7 of them. So there you go, 7 racing games, which is cool because I love racing games. So
it was a racing beast.
Yeah, but Ridge Racer 64 is great. It actually the controls on it reminds me a lot of Horizon Chase Turbo, which I'm sure was inspired by Ridge Racer. But and by that I mean like the way you play it is you go you don't hit the brake at all. You just always hit the accelerator and you kind of weave in between the cars. Like that's the way Horizon Chase Turbo is very much so.
Lots of drifting.
No braking. No. Not necessarily. I actually don't like drifting. You can, but you just lose control of the car so much. Like it doesn't really. I don't like it. Like I looked through the manual just to figure out because I wasn't sure. I couldn't remember if there was a turbo or like what all the different buttons did. And it does explain drifting, and I've tried it, and I don't like it. It just makes me just like I just lose complete control of the car, and it's just annoying. But it depends on what car you're using, I guess, because I use the one that I use is like has higher turning abilities, so it can turn much quicker. And maybe if you're using the faster ones that don't turn as quick, then maybe you want to do the drifting. But I don't know. I personally don't like it. But a lot of it is like I said, like Horizon Chase Turbo. You just kind of you weave in between the cars, and that's how you beat the levels. So you have to be pretty precise on it and that sort of thing. But it's cool, and it's nice to have it for free. Just show up out of nowhere, and I'm like, oh hey, I've never actually played the 64 version. I only played the DS version, so now I get to go and play it again. So hooray!
How do you feel about it? Does it feel nice to play it with the the save states and all that?
Yeah, I mean, you can save pretty often on this, so it's not really. I mean, sure, I could save mid-race, but I haven't done that. Like, basically the way the game works is there's not like Grand Prix per se. Like, you basically do like race after race after race, and you have to get first in all of them. And once you clear a certain amount of races, you get these these car attack modes, and then you race against other cars, and you unlock more cars like that. That's kind of how it goes. And there's all these different levels. Like, it starts off at easy, and then intermediate, and then hard, and whatever, And you go higher and higher and higher, and you get better cars. And I think it said that I unlocked like 30 cars or something like that on the DS one. So I mean, there's a lot of shit that you can get, And there's like cars that are named after the games, of course. Like I unlocked a couple Mappy Land cars, and there's a Xevious car. I mean, it's just a regular car that just says Mappy Land on the side of it. But that's just There's a Pac-Man car that you start with when you start the game, like that. They're already in there. They're just regular race cars, but they have they got the designs on the side.
Do you feel like you're always racing upon a ridge? I always wondered about that. Like, are all the courses upon ridges?
I don't know what that means, so no. I don't know. It feels.
I was always like, it seems like a very specific title like for a racer.
I don't know what I don't.
that
We
too.
only race upon ridges.
I don't know what we're racing on a ridge. What, like on a cliff or something? Like what does
Kind
that
of, yeah,
mean?
like ridges. Like
No,
it's like you're driving on a big potato chip.
no.
They crunch better.
They sure do.
It's much better. It's much better
What
than
else-
that idea. No, it's just a regular racing game. I don't
I
know
wondered
what
if it
I don't
was
know
like
what the
rally
richness
racing, but,
comes for.
you know, ridge racing, like that. Is that something that people do? Ridge racing.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what the point. I don't know what the point of the
powered
name
through a bag
means.
of chips with my homie as fast as I could, but I don't know if that counts.
You don't know what exactly the name means. I just remembered that it was fun to play, and it still is fun to play. So, try it out. It's free. But the other thing that's free that you guys probably haven't played, but you should. This game came out last week called Turbo Overkill, which I was really big on. It's a new first person shooter, pixel shooter, that sort of thing. And I played all the way through the demo. There's like 3 full levels on there, and they're pretty large levels that you can play for free. So play the game because you get to try out like 4 or 5 of the weapons that are on there. And there's crazy shit in this game, like where you can jump off the side of walls. Like it kind of reminds me of that one, I forget what it was called, but the one ninja game where you like jump around and you get hit once and you get killed and there's a sword. John bought it and never played it, but it's on there. There was a sequel to it. I don't remember what it's called. You own it, John. You bought it and then didn't
Ninja
touch
game, you
it.
jump around, you get hit once, and
Yeah,
There's like wall running.
it's a first person. It's like a first person shooter, but with a sword.
Ghost Runner.
And you got it when it was on sale, but I don't think you ever played any of it.
Ghost Runner.
Yeah, that game. It reminds me of that game because you can wall run like that. And then
What was that PS1 game where it was a one-hit kill with the swords?
Tenchu?
Yeah, Tenchu.
Yeah, I played that game on Wii. The Wii game was pretty good.
Bushido Blades. Yep.
That game was fun.
But anyway, it's a cool ass first person shooter where you can do a bunch of different shit. And I like the demo so much that I bought the full version. So I'm fully turboed. So
I mean, you are the audience for boomer shooters, so it makes sense.
yeah, well, I mean, I hate that term, but yeah, I do
I know
like
you
I
do,
do
that's
like
why I said
I like the pixel shooters as I call them.
Sorry, Trey.
But no, it's fine. But I mean, no, it's great. It'll probably show up on my game of the year list somewhere. Yes, it normally does because I love those stupid first person shooter games. But
What's the name of the game again?
Turbo Overkill is what it's called.
Turbo Overkill.
And it's an Apogee game. It's produced by Apogee. If you remember old Apogee,
Yes.
yeah, that Apogee.
Like
Yes,
Secret Agent and
Blake Stone. Do you remember Blake
Yeah.
Stone? That was an Apogee
Yes.
game. That's the
Yes.
game that I always talk about on this show. I would love to see.
Biohazard.
I'd love to see Blake Stone come back because I loved that game when I was in high school. It's like a stupid like a Wolfenstein type game, but it was a sci-fi first person shooter, and I loved it. So let me play it again and see if it's actually any good. But I thought it was great at the time.
I didn't know Apogee was still around. That's amazing.
I think that's the only way. That's the only reason I knew about it is because I followed Apogee on Twitter or whatever, which now mostly on Blue Sky. But I saw Turbo Overkill being like, "Oh yeah, it's out today on Switch," and I'm like, "Wait, what?" And I forgot that I'd followed it, and it was like
I know the game did really well on Steam, so it kind of makes sense that.
Yeah, and it came out a few years ago on Steam, but it's fun as hell. It's fun as hell to play. My only gripe is there's no gyro aiming. It's just but maybe they'll add it.
Which they said might be an update.
Yeah, they said there was supposed to be an update, but I didn't really notice much of a difference. Well, they said it was supposed to be like within the week, but I just got the game like a couple days ago. Like after we finally, we took a really long trip to New Hampshire for my niece's wedding, and we haven't had. I've been pretty busy working and driving for like the whole weekend. And when I got back, I was like, I'm just gonna get this stupid first person shooter game and just shoot people and relax with that. And that was my game. That I was like, if I have enough money, I'll get this game and just run around and shoot people in the head. And that's what I've been doing.
It just seems like
fun.
your kind of game.
And your foot is a chainsaw, so like you can slide.
Right.
You can slide with your chainsaw foot and cut people in half, which is a lot of fun.
See, last thing I remember that was kind of like that in pop media was the what was the Grindhouse?
Yeah,
There was the
I remember that.
I can't remember one of
Rosario
them.
Dawson.
Yeah, she
Terror.
had she had a leg. It was like a gun, and it was pretty cool.
In the Grindhouse movie, right? I've never seen that.
Yeah,
movie.
Yeah, Planet Terror.
Yeah, never saw either of them.
Yeah, I actually went and saw that in theaters, the double feature.
Wow.
Yeah, I never saw either of those. But I mean, that people having chainsaws for limbs has been thing for a while. I mean,
It's my boomstick.
Evil Dead 2.
Groovy.
But, yeah. And also, the main character does the same thing that Ash does in Evil Dead, where he like uses his chainsaw leg to like cut off the front of the shotgun and knock the front off. He does the sawed-off shotgun with his chainsaw leg and all that. And I think eventually you can add chainsaws to all your limbs, because you can like modify your body. There's like different DNA. What are they? They're like DNA spots that you find, and you can get shit where you can add different things to you.
I want there to be like, out of like a sim game,
and it's like all your different parts. Like it's like, well, okay, what do you want on your right arm and your left arm and your left leg? And
I want there to be
I think like your head too, and you can find these things that'll alter you or whatever.
Where you're a professional tree trimmer and you're like, you have to climb up trees and like trim the branches. That's what my grandpa did, because he lived in Sacramento, California, and like tree trimming is like, a legitimate business there, because everybody has like one tree. If you have any trees, you got to take care of it. And like, I just want a game where you're like replacing your limbs with chainsaws so you can like be a more efficient tree trimmer.
Trim trees. Yeah,
you're just like making more money. You're more efficient.
I just want Edward Scissorhands, the video game, and I can just make bush animals all the time. That's what you do in first person mode or something.
Sponsored by Avon.
But that's what I've been doing for my stuff.
Well, as far as me, I got all the way to the boss again in Metaphor, and I'm still not feeling like I'm in the right spot. So I'm a little frustrated, but I looked online and I think I can reconfigure my party at my current level. But most signs point that I probably should have grinded even more, which I was like, if y'all remember last week, I was like, I went back like 30 hours in the game and did the whole last section over again. And I did my best to like jam pack leveling up, and I even went to the Coliseum and finished the Coliseum and did all these crazy things to where I got a bunch of the like highest lineages you could in the job trees. And this last boss is still fucking me up, so not super happy about it, but I think I'm going to look. Like I said, I finally looked online, and I think I'm going to follow this blueprint that someone says that I can do with my current specs. I'll probably beat it. I got really close.
I thought you would have got through it by now.
The problem is so you're fighting a boss, but it's like 3 parts all at once. And one of the parts is healing everybody else. One of the parts is like really physically damaging, and one of the parts is really magically damaging. So you kind of sort of have to choose what order you take them out. And I made the mistake this last time I played through of saving the healing one for last. So the healing one is just buffing itself and healing to where we're just staying at the same energy level for like an hour. And I eventually gave up. I eventually just gave up. I was like, I'm doing something wrong here. This boss is buffing and healing himself, and I'm running out of items. So,
oh no.
God damn this game. I love it.
What game is this again?
It's Metaphor Refantasio. It's like
it's
like a Persona type game. It's made by Atlas.
Okay.
It's really good. I mean, it got
Game of the Year from IGN.
Some Jeff Keighley awards or whatever. Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it got like Best RPG or something, right? Because Astrobot got Game of the Year from
Astrobot Game of the Year, which I haven't played that yet, but I want to. That's going to be a little treat I save for myself, like a little dessert.
Whenever you get through this game,
I just think like that game's just going to be a treat whenever I do play it. It's just going to be fun and all the way through. I don't know. I love this game, and I love that I'm really putting my all into this JRPG, but they're really kind of doing me dirty in this last boss, and I'm not loving it.
I feel like
I plan on beating it.
I feel like that's the case with a lot of JRPGs.
Yeah,
like they really save the big guns for like the final boss.
I mean, I'm literally fighting God. It is traditional in that sense. I'm fighting. Well, it's an archdemon, but
sure,
he might as well be a god.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he just converted to that archdemon recently, so he's very much a evolved demigod at least. But whatever, it's a game that I'm going to keep playing. I want to finish it. But one thing I wanted to say this week, I bought something off of eBay, and it was a risky purchase.
Uh-oh. But
there's something I've been wanting for a while that retails for about $60, and I found it for like 30 something.
Nice.
Including shipping on eBay. But it's possible not all the pieces are here, so we'll see how it goes.
You don't have it yet, or you do?
Here it is.
What are we looking at? What are we looking at?
Cool.
It's the
Oh, nice.
This
the
is
Lego
the only.
Piranha.
This is literally the only Lego
Super Mario Lego Piranha
Nintendo
Plant.
thing that I've cared about, and it's really cool. It looks really cool, and
Nice.
and it's got the same box that like the like they sell the plants and stuff that they're marketing
Yeah.
to young adults or whatever. So this right here is the coolest Lego model I've seen recently, and I opened it up because, like I said, it's used and it's no returns. They made a big deal about that on eBay, so I got it for like half price. But I don't know if it's missing pieces. I opened it up and it was, instead of being in like 6 bags or whatever the instructions call for, it was in 2 bags and partially assembled. So I don't know. I messed around with it a little bit a couple days ago.
You just got to take it apart.
And I don't know if I should completely take it apart or if I should try to like look at the instructions.
You'll see there's instructions and stuff in there. Well, a lot of those isn't it like find it in a certain bag or like the way it's.
That's what I'm saying.
Kind of like
originally there was like
how it's originally
there was like
packaged.
5 bags or something like that for each of the.
Yeah, but now it's
sections.
just 1 bag. Yeah, so that
It's
can make
2
it way more
bags.
confusing. Yeah, or
And
2
it's
bags.
partially assembled.
I would just
So-
take it. I would take it apart because 1, that's part of the fun of doing a Lego anyway, and 2, then that way you can conclusively identify each part and whether.
And I haven't done it yet, but I imagine there's probably a place I can go online where I can look at like an inventory of all the pieces that should be.
Oh yeah, probably.
So-
I mean, it should be
buy like if you're missing like 1 or 2 pieces, you could buy like the individual pieces, whatever you're missing.
And I mean, also because of this being more of a model and not so much of a functional thing, like if there were a few pieces missing, it might, as long as they're not structurally important, it might be okay. So, but yeah, I spent like half the money on this and I don't know. It came in such a nice box, even though it feels like a shoe box that someone stepped on like 8 times or whatever. Like my theory is that whoever owned this, like either it got knocked down and they gave up on it, or it was one of those scenarios where it's like somebody got evicted and they were just like smashing all their shit or whatever.
they needed $30. Like
It's
now.
got very much got like a smashed, like people didn't care about this when they packaged it up appearance. But so far so good on what I have assembled. But I think I may do like you said, John. I think I may just go through and take every little piece apart, and then, like you said, Nate, maybe, or what you said I could do, go and find like the inventory list and just separate all the parts and start at square one, because that actually could be kind of fun on its own, like categorizing each part.
You don't want that thing sitting on the shelf, and then for the rest of your life that somebody partially built it for you.
Well, no, I'm not doing that.
It's not like really beating it. It's like somebody beat half of it for you. You got to take it apart, start from the beginning.
It's the coolest Lego thing I've seen in years. Like, as soon as they announced it, I was like, I gotta have that. So, I might have taken the Wish approach to it, but I'm gonna have this thing. Okay,
You get it how you get it, man.
I mean, actually, I did take the Wish approach. I bought the Audrey 2 version that was made by Mega Bloks, and kind of gave up on that one because the pieces were so like janky and how they fit together. But I do actually have the Audrey 2 Mega Bloks.
That's amazing.
Build still like partially assembled, But
you can source missing pieces from that one.
There you go.
Right, exactly. I can, and I mean, I actually have some Legos, and I don't know if I have these like artisanal parts that are probably in this set, but it does seem like it was a set that was assembled from pre-existing parts from the little like it comes with like a manual that describes like what the creator was thinking when they made it and stuff. So it kind of seems like he made it with stuff that already existed in other kits. So that's making me hopeful that I can do this. But like I said, I spent like half the price. I think it was like 30 something bucks with shipping and hard, like I said, a hard no return policy. So let's hope this works out for me. But if nothing else,
all sales are final.
We got some more fun Lego pieces.
There you go.
But that's pretty much it for me this week.
Yeah, on my end, not much besides the usual. Tears of the Kingdom, still plugging away. But Mythic Quest came back with a new season, so I've been enjoying that. They put out 3 episodes so far. They do the weekly release thing, which I appreciate.
Have you listened to the book from Severance? Did you hear about that? That you can.
I'm almost done with the first season.
That you can.
Severance.
I've almost finished the first season.
There's like a self-help book that's involved in there that you've probably seen, Jeremy. You can actually listen to most of that book in audio form for free through Apple TV Plus or whatever.
I didn't know either.
So I don't know exactly how to find it, but I saw an article that said, I don't know.
I'm trying to remember who that actor is.
I'll have to track it down and send it to you. But apparently you can listen to that.
He was in another show where he was like that. He almost played the exact same character. He was like the new age whatever.
Oh.
I can't remember what the other show was in, but he was totally the same thing where he was like a
kind of hippie guru guy.
He was like he was like an overbearing hippie, like young dad kind of creature who was just more about like making his wife have the perfect experience and stuff. It's almost exactly the same as in Severance. That's why I'm trying to remember what I saw him in. I haven't done research, so
Michael Chernus. Michael Chernus is what his name is.
But he was in
I don't know
something
what
else.
I don't know what else.
Another TV show that was like on one of those streaming platforms. I'm almost positive. But yeah, I like the show so far. I don't know why I'm talking.
Do you have Apple TV Plus then? Did you get it?
I got the free trial, so I've been.
Oh sure, yeah. Mm-hmm. So you can get through it. I mean, we watched it. I mean, we watched it pretty quickly. Jess and I did. So
I got it a few days ago, so I'm thinking like I may be able to do it all in 1 week.
Yeah.
And then of course I'll be not current, so I'll have to.
You can finally watch that that awful Tetris movie that's on there too. You can finally make yourself sit through that.
Nope.
I mean, there's worse movies that are out there. I mean, it's
it was a fun movie if you can accept that that's factually inaccurate.
And it's
I just don't have to watch it.
Make it more exciting.
It's factually
I'll be happier as a result.
Factually inaccurate and way too long. it's just like it's over bloated and too long. And
I'm just gonna use my connections through Nate
shit
to get a hold of because obviously Nate can probably get a hold of Alexei Pachinov through mainframe.
Sure.
And then I'm just gonna talk to that guy.
I want to talk
directly.
to Hank. I want to talk to Hank Rogers. He's the actual like hero in this story. I mean,
is he though? I mean, not the guy who made the game.
I mean, Hank Rogers invented the fucking life meter. Like he invented the fucking life meter, like in games. Like he would what was it, Black Onyx or whatever the fuck it's called, like that. He created it from that. Yep. So, and Hank Rogers is a great white person that should not have been represented by a white person in that movie. I'm just saying, Hank Rogers has an incredible story, and they really just pissed all over him for that Tetris movie. So I mean, yeah,
I'll give you that. I still say Pachinov's cooler because he made the game.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying, Hank Rogers did a lot of shit, including making the fucking health meter. There's I mean, that's insane. Like to just see the actual person who did that. Not to mention a million other things, but he's fucking cool. Like listen to that guy talk. Like he's got a lot of cool shit.
Have you guys played the Black Onyx? Have you played that game?
No.
Oh, I have. Somebody ported it to the ColecoVision.
I would just say they should put it. They should put it on that Tetris, whatever the Tetris Forever game or whatever it's called on Switch. It should be on there.
It definitely does not age well because it's one of those first-person RPGs that were computer RPGs that were popular like in the early 80s and mid 80s. By first person, it's like you move like
it's a dungeon crawler sort of thing, right?
Frame by frame kind of thing. Yeah.
But that's kind of what got him popular in Japan, though, right? Because a lot of people in Japan really love that game. So that kind of
this is all wizardry.
That kind of started off some of his fame before Tetris even was a big thing. So
yeah,
it's probably why he ended up living there and all that. But anyway, he has a super interesting life. I don't think they portrayed it very well in the movie, but do some actual research and look into him. Like that
Tetris was like
that Tetris game, the Tetris Forever game. The footage in there, he actually did himself, because he had a camera and he actually filmed himself in Japan and in Russia and all that. So they already had the footage that they could have replicated for the movie, but chose not to. So he already actually did this because he filmed himself doing everything. So it's it's just a shame that they didn't really try to make it more accurate and all that. But whatever. But anyway, what were we talking about?
The Mythic Quest.
Apple Plus, and I got on my rant about the Tetris movie. But I mean, you have it now, so just have some drinks with Shauna, and you guys can watch it and laugh about how dumb it is. It's not that long.
Or choose to watch Mythic Quest instead. That's a great show too.
I mean, I've beat that game. couple of times.
Yeah,
so,
Mystic Quest.
Final Fantasy.
I wish the show was about Mystic Quest, and I would be quicker to watch it if it was actually about Final Fantasy Mystic Quest.
What, we can jump now? Hell yeah!
Yeah, and then it has that sick metal music from that. That's what I want. The RPG for dumb Americans.
Yeah.
Anyway, why don't we? Let's do like a quick news thing.
News. Don't snooze or you miss the news.
The big thing for me was, you guys probably didn't watch it, but I watched the Capcom Spotlight on February 4th. It was yesterday, right? Yeah. They had the Capcom Spotlight. I was mostly interested because I expected that they would either shadow drop or give the release date for Capcom Fighting Collection 2. And it didn't get shadow drop, but they did give the release date. So I was right on that. And it's coming out May 16th, so it's going to be my. It's like three days before my birthday.
So is this more of the games you don't have yet? Like what's on 2?
So Capcom Fighting Collection 2. This is the one that has the holy Capcom versus SNK 2 on there, which is like one of my favorite fighting games ever. But but aside from that, Power Stone 1 and 2 is on there from Dreamcast, which a lot of people are really excited about. Not to mention, really cool. There's a Street Fighter Alpha Upper, which was on Game Boy Advance and PSP, the one that has all the extra characters and all that for Street Fighter Alpha 3. And what else? The Capcom Fighting Evolution, which is supposedly awful, but you could play it on there anyway and see if you think it's bad or not or whatever. I know that one was always kind of known for not being great, but yeah, it's just a collection of more more fighting game nerd shit. And
I feel like your Leverless is excited about this.
Yeah, for sure. Well, there's the one. There's the Rival Schools game in there too, which I always really wanted to play those games, where you play as the Japanese kids and beat the shit out of each other. That's in there as well, and yeah, it's been something I've been very much looking forward to, and they never gave it a release date yet, and they finally did. So yeah, it's Capcom vs SNK 1, Capcom vs SNK 2, Capcom Fighting Evolution, Street Fighter Alpha 3 Upper, Power Stone 1 and 2, Project Justice, and Plasma Sword Nightmare of Bilstein, whatever is what's on there. But yeah, they finally gave it a release date, and it actually has a price too. You can find it on the Nintendo eShop right now for $40 for pre-order. So I'm fine with that. I mean, the Marvel one was $50, so it's a little bit cheaper than that. But I'm really excited about this one because, like I said, I love that SNK game, and I never played the first one. Like, there's so many fighting games that I haven't played that are on here, so I'm very excited. And another thing that I was very excited about from the Capcom Spotlight was Onimusha 2 remaster coming to Nintendo Switch. Fuck yeah, let's do this. I loved playing Onimusha 1, the remaster on Switch.
That was like the very PS1,
it was like Resident Evil with swords.
Stealth game, yeah.
Well, I mean, for me, it felt like a Resident Evil game with with whatever.
You love that game
in feudal Japanese time. Yeah. It had the fixed camera angle, but you get to kill demons with swords, and they're doing a new Onimusha game, and they talked about that in the Capcom Spotlight. But then they said one more thing, and then they showed the remake of 2, and it said coming to Nintendo Switch. So I was like, hey, I was hoping that maybe there'd be some Switch 2 stuff in there, but I think they're waiting on that till the Direct, till the Nintendo Direct.
Well, I think now that it's been established as like a direct successor, it's more like Switch is a platform less than.
Yeah, I'm just waiting.
Yeah.
I just thought maybe there would be something about you never know. Like I think that Monster Hunter Wilds will be on Switch too. Probably. I mean, I definitely think that there'll be like a Street Fighter 6 Ultimate Edition that comes to Switch too, with all of the bonus characters, which they talked about in this Direct as well. Of course, like Mai and Alina. Like I think are the last 2 ones that they're adding, but I think they're going to do one that has everybody on there and put it on Switch too. I mean, I see that happening. Same with like a Tekken 8 Ultimate version or whatever, like that sort of thing. So I thought maybe they'd mention something, or maybe they'd, like I'm sure all those Resident Evil remakes will end up on there, like more native and not like cloud based or whatever. I see all this happening in the future, but we didn't see anything.
That Resident Evil 4 remake is fucking solid.
That game's going to be it. Game's going to be on.
It's
for
such
sure.
a good game.
Like I'd put anything on that. That's going to definitely be there. But it was fun to watch. I only watched the Spotlight part because they actually had it separated. There's a Capcom Spotlight, and there was also the Monster Hunter Wilds stuff. And I only just watched the beginning part. I didn't watch any of the Monster Hunter Wilds stuff, just because I don't know. I was like, that's enough. I watched half of it. They showed me the release date for Fighting Collection, so that's fine for me. So that was all. That was all I really needed. And the Fantastic Four trailer came out on the same day too, so I was pretty excited about that. even though I do think that the thing's voice should be a little more gravelly. I think they should have added some effects to it. I don't know if you saw that, John, or maybe you're just skipping it just to see.
I'm skipping it. Nope.
Yeah, I just had to see the first one just because I haven't seen anything of it, and it's my favorite comic ever. And there's some fun stuff in there. Not a whole lot of Mr. Fantastic yet, but I mean, we already got tickets to see Captain America 4, so I'm sure it's going to play at the beginning of that. So I would end up seeing it no matter what. But I was too much in anticipation of seeing it. And
Is that Alamo?
Looks pretty good for right now. Yeah, we got Alamo tickets for President's Day. So whatever, the 17th, the Monday.
So that one thing that I should definitely mention, because it was in my name, but Trey, you and I went to a Switch event in 2017. It was about a month before.
We did, yeah.
It was about a month before the Switch came out, and it was like one of the coolest moments of, I don't know, my life, really. Like,
yeah, it was pretty amazing that I got accepted for that or whatever, and yeah, it was pretty.
If we were trying to do that again, it looks like we'd have to pay $5,000 to $10,000 online, and those tickets are non-transferable, so you would probably just not get to go.
It won't even. It's like it won't even work, right? Like that's kind of what I heard.
But it's crazy that something that we went to, 8 years ago or whatever, 7 years ago, like
we played
such a high.
It was almost. I mean,
demand thing.
So we posted the podcast episode. Wow, it's episode 57. It's that one. Long time ago. I mean, that's almost 400 episodes from now, right? Are we at 457 right now?
No,
yeah, 400 episodes ago was the episode where Jeremy and I actually played the Switch at the Switch event. And that came out, it was released February 19th of 2017. So there you go.
And the actual Switch came out March 3rd. That's when everybody had it in hand. So
yeah, I saw a lot of stuff online about people getting rejected for the Switch events, and I didn't apply for any of them.
Crazy that it's blown up so much since then.
Well, there's way less demand. I mean, there was the Wii U era when Nintendo was down and out, and I thought, oh well, this is just another Wii U or whatever. And now the Switch is the hottest. So,
150 million units.
So cool that we started our podcast with a vision that someday Nintendo would be cool again.
Hey, they were never not cool.
I know, but
that's right.
In a mainstream sense.
What was it, like our sixth or like fifth or sixth episode that was like all about Xenoblade Chronicles X, and that was like our most downloaded episode for the longest time. Like that was our big one, was the Xenoblade Chronicles X episode. Probably because we were the only ones talking about it. I felt like maybe we were the only ones talking about it. I thought it was pretty cool that I downloaded the soundtrack for that. And I thought that was why we got so many downloads, maybe, is that I had gotten a hold of the soundtrack like the week that it came out somehow. I just searched around the internet until I found it.
Yeah, dude, you're on top of it.
Yeah, so it was cool. I felt like I was
You're
on top.
a big part of the success, if not.
I thought I was on top of the shit, of Xenoblade Chronicles X. And I can't wait to revisit it again.
On the same token as Jeremy's topic that he just mentioned, I wanted to mention, referencing my name that I mentioned at the top of the show, GameCube. There's a GameCube on eBay right now for $100,000, and it's a prototype GameCube from Space World.
It's a Space World one, right?
That would be why.
I think I was listening to like Nintendo voice chat talk about it, and I remember Logan saying like, this should be in the museum. They should have it in the fucking Nintendo museum instead of whatever they have there.
Going to buy it.
Like they should buy it and put it in there.
Yeah. I mean, that's crazy to think that GameCube that I was watching that day on my computer, on my old internet connection in 2000, whatever, before school started that day, because remember it was the first day of school, and I woke up early to watch this, and there was the ladies with the GameCube. One of those GameCubes is this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Space World was Nintendo's show, and that was like, when did that stop? In like 2004 or 2005? I mean,
they stopped. Yeah, I felt like it stopped pretty soon after the GameCube launched, right?
Those that video you had on your Apple computer of the Wind Waker, like the early, like there was so much more Looney Tunes.
Oh yeah,
like how you would like go off the edge and like.
Yeah, that was Space World. Yeah.
Yeah, they were so much more Looney Tunes about that game before it actually came out.
Yeah, I watched the video. Yeah, and the video before that of like the one that looked more like Ocarina of Time, where everybody was upset that was wasn't what it was. Like that was a space world thing too.
I remember that.
And I had that video as well on my iPod video, which I don't know. I lost that thing, but but it had the iPod video. That was one of the videos that was on there. Was the original Zelda Space World video from.
Yeah, what a cool piece of history. Yeah. It should be in a museum. You're right. It should be in
the Nintendo Museum. Is where it should
could be yours for
their
just
own
the price
game
of 10,
show.
10 Switch 2 event tickets.
Instead
That
of
would
like,
be true. Like,
instead
why
of
not
whatever else
negotiate
fuck
with
they have there.
Nintendo for a Switch 2 and just or something like that? Yeah.
Speaking of Switch 2, they have an official time now for it, which is kind of funny, like so far in advance. But get those bingo cards ready now because was it 8:00 a.m. Central Time?
Oh, yeah, 6 a.m.
when we're having the Switch 2 Direct. I feel like doesn't that kind of solidify the fact that we're not getting a February Direct? Like that's kind of what I feel.
I think it solidifies the fact that it's going to be
it's not
going to be a live event. It's going to be a
well. I mean, but if they're giving you all this info about this thing in April, that kind of makes me feel like nothing's going to happen until then.
I think there may still be a Switch 1, like a normal. I work on it. Switch 1. There may still be like a standard Switch.
Maybe an Indie World showcase.
Yeah, an Indie World.
I don't think we'll get like a full. I don't know. It makes me have doubts on
I think
all
the
February
first party
Direct.
stuff has been cast to the Switch 2, but I mean, didn't they confirm this week that Metroid Prime 4 and Pokemon Pizza are like definitely Switch games?
Oh yeah, as part of like the investors meeting or whatever. Yeah, I think so.
So we know
they're still saying that those are on there.
We're going to get 4 on our current consoles, so that's good to know.
And we're still
knowing they're backwards compatible.
And we're still going to have we're still going to have the Pokemon Presents at the end of February, so we will hear something about Pokemon ZA or Z or whatever you want to call it. But
well, the last thing that I wanted to mention, I'm glad Nate's here for this one because this is pretty relevant, I think, to what we're talking about. The Video Game History Foundation now has a free online library.
Yep.
That is so cool. So you know about this, Nate, huh?
How does that
work?
work?
About this?
I know Frank Cifaldi and Phil Salvador. I'm on their Patreon. You can pay $10 a month and you can be on their Discord. And that's been a project for a long time. In fact, they have a podcast of their own called Video Game History Hour.
Okay.
That they just released an episode of talking all about it, the build up, the work that's been done. I mean, it's been in the works for years, and it's amazing. You don't go up there, you just put in a keyword, and if you want to find that terrible Neo Geo ad about chili farts or whatever, you can find it. It's there, man.
Open to the public.
Open to the public for anybody to use.
Now I want to see that.
Yeah. So people have been online on Blue Sky, have been showing like, what are your favorite things that you found in the library, and they're pulling up all sorts of funny stuff or interesting things or like bad takes, like historically bad takes, right? Like, saying like, oh, Nintendo's going to release another one. It has the dumbest name. It's called the Wii. It's going to do nothing. Like, or things like that.
So these are like magazine scans and
I think I still have
archival documents, that kind of stuff.
I think I still have that IGN podcast where they make fun of the name Wii. I think it's still in my hard drive somewhere. Where it's just a whole bunch of people going like "wee," and they're just saying that over and over again.
I do remember people saying like the II looks like the Wiimotes, and that was always the coolest part.
Yeah,
that's cool. So anybody who's looking to do a research project, this is going to be a valuable tool for people going forward.
And it's not just American magazines either. Like they have like UK magazines. They have. I don't know if they have any like Brazilian magazines. That would be very interesting.
I know, especially because they were operated under the dictatorship, so they had to like make everything work with their platforms.
Right. They were very isolationist.
There was like a Guitar Hero on PS1 or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, they had like they were huge on the Sega Master System. And so like they had like official Master System, brand new Sega Master System video games like into 2004. But that would be interesting. I don't think they have a lot in the way of Japanese magazines just because Japan tends to be a lot more litigious and protective of that kind of stuff.
Right.
But yeah, it's still an incredible resource. Lots of cool stuff. I found a comic book. Well, it was like a comic about like I think like killer bees for the Odyssey 2. And there's a pun Michael Jackson in there, but he's Michael Yellow Jackson, and he's singing "Just Beat It." He's a bee.
Wow,
that was my find.
Awesome.
Nice. There you go.
That's amazing. Did you know the Jackson 5 reunited for a performance, but it was the day before 9/11 happened, and so it never got aired?
I did know that. Yeah,
I did not know that. Today I learned. Wow.
Yeah, September 10th was a bad day for a Jackson 5 reunion.
I think that's it. I'm good on the news.
All right, go through it. I think there was one more. Yeah, there's one more thing I wanted to mention. The Sims, the Sims Anniversary Edition, Sims 1 and 2. It's out now for Steam, but I think it's coming to.
Absolutely,
it's coming to the consoles. I mean, it hasn't been announced for any consoles yet, but it will. And I just want them to re-release that GameCube version again, so I can just take my kids and put them outside in the backyard like I always did.
I hate that game so much.
I like the only game I played was The Sims on GameCube, where they kind of like tried to consoleify it, where there was actually like goals that you had to do, to get to different levels and whatnot. And I liked it in that way because it made it more like the kind of games that I'm used to playing. And there was a goal where it said like you have to score, and I thought that meant like you get laid, but actually scoring is getting married, and you get married. And in The Sims, when you sleep in the same bed with your wife, kids just automatically appear around the house, like without you actually doing anything.
That's why Sean and I have separate beds.
So yeah, kids would just randomly. So like kids would like randomly show up, and my Sims were always like so upset because the kids would not stop crying. So I would take the children and put them in the backyard. So my Sim would be happy and would be able to go to work like not angry. And then like the humane people would come and take my kids away, and then other ones would show up, and I'd put them in the backyard again, and they'd come and get them, and it was just this forever cycle.
So you're basically a human child farm.
Yeah. So that's what my memories of that game. But no, if they put that version out, I would get it on Switch, so I could play it again.
You can exploit living beings.
I did actually buy I bought the GameCube game again, like more recently, because I don't think I ever owned it. I think I just rented it. But I had I had a trauma house, so I had like so I had like the Toxic Avenger and the Noxious
Offender. I keep forgetting to say that I watched Toxic Avenger 2 last week. I keep forgetting.
You watched 2?
I watched all the way through it.
Why?
Because of the guy getting decapitated and then doing the dance.
How did you watch it, or where did you watch it on?
It was on one of the fucking streaming services.
Oh, it might be on. Some of them were on Prime.
But I think it was Prime.
Actually, the newest Trauma movie is on Trauma now, and I haven't watched it yet, and I need to. Like the Shakespeare one, Shakespeare Shitstorm's on there, which I really need to get around to watching that. But I did watch. I don't know. We watched the Toxic Avenger 1 in theaters, and I watched 2 afterwards. It's not great, but 2 and 3 aren't very good. But 4 is the best one, I think. 1 and 4 are great. But anyway, I think that's good on news.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for hanging out with us again, Nate. It's been
of course.
It's been a long time, so it's always nice. It's always nice to talk to you.
Probably have to work and stuff tomorrow, so thanks for staying up late with us.
Yeah,
whatever. I actually got to work super early too. So,
it's fine.
But the things I do for this podcast. It was awesome to have you on here and talk to you again. And like I said, you've been doing a lot of things. So I was like, hey, you know what? We should just have you back on so you could tell us all about it. And let everybody know again where they can find you on the internet and all that.
Yeah. So you can find me on Blue Sky. I'm Nathaniel Lockhart. On Blue Sky, it's Nathaniel Lockhart. That's Lockhart. You can find me there. You can also go to my website, that has show notes for my podcast as well as articles about things I'm working on. That is memorymachinepod.com. And and I release my podcast. I'm desperate to get like to a monthly schedule on that, and I should hopefully be recording another one soon for one to be out like maybe in March. So,
But you're doing all your own editing, so it makes sense that
yeah,
it's
it takes a
contingent
bit.
on life.
Yep, it takes
time. It takes a lot of time.
Takes time
to edit things for sure.
It sure does, especially when you say and do the as much as I do. So you have to like you kind of hear that and like, ugh.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But,
no, I know. Like I said, I have myself on a separate track, so I can easily cut myself out whenever I need to. Because I'm like
smart.
Because I can be really annoying, but I can just I can just zip it right out of there, and then it's great. It was a life changer once I started like editing on multiple tracks instead of just one, you know.
Yeah.
You can make a big difference. But
sure.
If you want to find stuff from us, go to patreon.com/NintenDomain podcast. I know you were actually one of our first patrons. Nathaniel was, so thank you for your continued support and all that.
Thank you.
Of course.
And I just put out the latest. I just put out the latest WART radio today. It's like almost 3 hours long because I combined December and January's music on there. So cranked it together today, and I'm pretty proud of it. So listen to that. Anybody who's on the $5 level, which is basically has all the music intros and outros of all the episodes put together in a nice playlist and all that stuff. So give it a listen on there. And of course, on the $5 level, you get to see videos of us early and all that fun stuff. And our bonus shows, expansion pack stuff is on the $1 level and whatnot. But yeah, check it out. You can get like a free week, and I think I have a lot of stuff piecemeal in there too. If you just want to buy single episodes, I think they're like $2 or something like that. So check it out. And also, you can find me on Blue Sky at Trey Johnson or at NintenDomain. And I wanted to make sure and message you through Blue Sky because you're my second guest that hooked up through Blue Sky.
And I'm also Domain
using it all the time. It's a great place even though I do check Twitter sometimes because Nintendo never made their way to Blue Sky.
Not
unfortunately.
yet.
Like they don't.
Yeah.
There's no like Nintendo of America Blue Sky or whatever. But if I'm posting anything, I'm posting it on Blue Sky. Like I'm not posting aside from just whenever there's a new episode out. That's the only thing I post on Twitter now, but whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can find us all on there and on Facebook and whatever else, youtube.com/NintenDomain podcast. We got stuff all over the place on there. And we've been your hosts. I'm Trey Johnson.
I'm Jared Mikowski.
John Nitter.
And special guest,
Nate Lockhart.
And thanks everybody for listening to episode 457. We'll see you next time.
See ya. It's all ones and zeros.
Ones and zeros. Sure, yeah. Not here.
Yeah.
Cool, awesome.
All right.
Yeah. Take
Well,
care.
thanks a lot, guys. I'm going to bed.
Yeah,
Good night, everyone. Love you.
Yeah, me too.
Have a good
guys.
night.
I gotta be up at 6. So
Gross.
yep. Later. Have a good night.
Bye.
Everybody.
Later.